Hello everyone, welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be taking a look at a Rolling Stones album, one which has been requested quite a bit on my channel, so I'm going to be looking at the album Beggars Banquet today. So this album very recently celebrated its 50th anniversary. It was released on the 6th of December in 1968. The making of the album was quite fraught. It was the last one released in Brian Jones's lifetime. Like his contribution by this point, in the band, couldn't be guaranteed. He would only really appear at the studio when he felt like it. And he sort of became more of a hindrance to the band than an asset. I mean that was due to his he had a lot of issues with drug addiction at this point in time, and also reportedly the other band members they maybe weren't maybe as supportive as they maybe could have been towards them. So the record was preceded by their single Jumpin' Jack Flash, which showed the Stones' their new direction which they were going in. After the psychedelic adventure of this record here, their Satanic Majesty's Request, they moved away from that psychedelic sound to a more stripped back rootsy rock and roll sort of style, which seemed to suit them a lot more, because the psychedelic stuff is a bit more a kind of trying to imitate the Beatles, whereas this was the Stones they they found a new unique sound to them. So certainly the sound they got off the Jumpin' Jack Flash single would characterise this album, and also the rest of their entire career. Now the record was completed for October of 1968. However, there was a long dispute with their record company surrounding the album cover. This is a reissue which features their originally intended design, which was banned by Decca for being offensive and that. I mean, it's not. I mean, you've seen worse than that sort of thing. It's to think that they banned this, but only a few years later they allowed something say the Blind Faith cover to come out. They were really slightly oversensitive, I think, around this cover. Instead the record came out with a basically a plain white cover, just with the Stones Beggars Banquet, an invitation style sleeve, which wasn't quite as effective, I don't think. Now, critically, this was received as a return to form, because, as I said, their psychedelic stuff wasn't too well received. This one here, many felt that it tapped into the very angry, more politically tense moods of 1968. And commercially, it performed pretty well as well. It reached number 3 on the UK albums charts and number 5 in America. Another side note about this time in the Stones career was to promote the album. The band intended to make a TV special called the Rolling Stones Rock and Roll Circus. It was to be this epic TV special. It was film made and everything. It featured performances from John and Yoko were there, the Who, Eric Clapton, basically anyone, it was anyone in music in 1968. However, it got pulled from production. It was never aired at the time. Apparently, I've heard that the Stones felt that they got overshadowed by the Who's performance. They the Who outplayed the Stones. So you see the special now, because it was released in the 90s. You can kind of see why, because the Who they really do play their socks off in that. So I want to now show you the vinyl copy. As I said, this is just a fairly recent reissue. I believe actually, I think Rockboy660 actually bought me this one here, very nice gift from him. There's the back of it there, just with all the graffiti, as I've already mentioned. And there's the inner gatefold. I believe this was the gatefold to the original vinyl, but I'm not 100% sure of that. Just a photo off the band, black and white style photo there. And then so fancy in with this, you just got the record, but it does have quite a nice label, just with the inner sleeve cover, again, Beggars Banquet it says. So yeah, that is the vinyl record looked at. Okay, so I'll now go over each of the album's songs. I will score each track out of 10, and then those scores will be used to give us a overall percentage marking for the album.
Pleased to meet you. Hope you guess my name.
So, So we start things off with the classic Sympathy for the Devil, which is a brilliant song to kick off the album with. It's got a really sort of like infectious groove like on it, very creative lyrics. Like Jagger wrote this one like basically sort of like sung like from like the perspective like of like the devil, like you're sort of like witnessing and like sort of like influencing like events like throughout like history. Like it mentions Jesus and like who killed like the Kennedys, like and like that like throughout like the song. It's a very long track as well, about 6 minutes. Like that's why like I'm not giving it like a 10 out of 10, because it is a little bit repetitive, but I would say it is a kind of good sort of like repetitive. It's almost got this sort of like hypnotic sort of quality like to it, like, especially like sort of like the woohoo like sort of like backing vocals, like as well as like sort of like the rolling piano in it. But like if like you're not like in like the mood, like it could get like a little bit like sort of tedious this track here, but nonetheless, so it is a brilliant classic song. Was ranked at number 32 on like Rolling Stone magazine's like all-time greatest songs list. So yeah, like one of the Stones like many best songs, and like for me definitely a highlight from the album.
Got no expectations.
Next up is called No Expectations, which is a more sort of stripped back like acoustic piece. You've got some very nice slide guitar like in this, which was contributed by like Brian Jones, like one of his last like sort of like major like contributions like to like the band. Just a nice song, like quite sort of like sorrowful like lyrics like in it. We'll give it an 8 out of 10.
There's a pain where there once was a heart.
And the next song is in a similar kind of vein. It's called Dear Doctor, which is another sort of like rootsy sort of like acoustic country style song. Lyrically, this song can be taken sort of like tongue-in-cheek, like about like a man like who's been stood up like on like his wedding day, like whether like instead of like being upset like or sad about it, like he actually ends up like being like quite relieved like by it. And like the Stones like perform this one like quite well. The only thing what I don't quite like about it like is Jagger's vocal on it, like especially like the middle bit, like he puts on like this very sort of like country twang like sort of like style voice, like this very sort of false like American like accent. Like I tend to like prefer like Mick Jagger's vocals like when like he's really belting it out, like, rather than like when like he's trying to be sort of like nice and sort of tender like on like this track. Like I don't think his voice like is quite as effective there. So yeah, we'll give it a 7 out of 10 for Dear Doctor. Not a bad song like on the album. Next one up is called Parachute Woman, which is another sort of okay song. I would maybe call it slight filler like on the album. I would say that this song, I really like the sound of it. Like it's got a really sort of murky like atmosphere like to this really. Like apparently like it was basically just recorded like on like a cheap like cassette like player like machine. Like so it adds like this sort of like really raw sound to it, like which I do quite like. However, the song itself is very short. I just don't think it really goes like anywhere like too much. Like I mean like it's just basically just a verse like and like a chorus and like that's it basically. Like, there's not too much to it. So yeah, we give it a 7 out of 10. Like not bad like on the album, like not one like which I would skip, but certainly like not a highlight.
I'm just trying to do this jigsaw puzzle.
And the first side closes with one of my favourites on the album. It's called Jigsaw Puzzle, which is a really strong like mid-tempo song, very sort of like Bob Dylan-esque like lyrics like on this one here, like with references to sort of like misfits like off like society. Like it's a really sort of like well-developed song. I really like how the song really builds like in like intensity like as like it goes on. Like it actually, I think it speeds up like sort of like this track like as well, like very subtly. Like I think it just like the slide guitar bits like work really well. Like I believe like I believe that's Keith like doing those, as well as like sort of like the very propulsive like piano playing like from like Nicky Hopkins. Although it is a very long track, this, like I think like I think it actually comes in like only like a few seconds shorter than like Sympathy for the Devil. I just think that this song like maybe doesn't quite drag as much like as like that one does. So yeah, one of my favourites like on the record. We'll give it another 9 out of 10. And then we open up side 2 with another cracking song, which is Street Fighting Man, which was, I think this was a single, I'm not 100% sure, but it's a really great song, a little bit more like sort of like politically driven, this song here, like a little bit more sort of like politically topical, like about like sort of like, because in like 69, like those sort of like, well 68, sorry, like, there's a lot of like sort of like race riots going on, a lot of like student protests, like movements like happening, like especially like in like America, like so like sort of like the lyrics like on this song like very much much like reflects like that sort of like moods like of like protest, like an uprising. Quite interesting like arrangement choices like as well. Like although like think of this like as a very sort of like heavy rocking driving song. Like you've got a sitar like on like this song here. Like Brian Jones like apparently walked in the studio like with like this sitar, like which sounds like I'd of course like used before. And like I said, like I want to use this song today. So like this track here, which like otherwise we probably would never have dreamed to put like a sitar on it, simply because like Jones had one and like was like insistent like on like using it, that like they put it in. And I must say it really works. Like it really makes a song like a little bit more like interesting like that like it otherwise would have been. So yeah, Street Fighting Man, absolute classic, 10 out of 10.
All he had, family come in the land.
But then the record does take a little bit like of a nosedive after that. We get a song called Prodigal Son, which is a cover like of an old song like by like a blues guy like Robert Wilkins. So it's a very sort of like down ridden like sort of like acoustic track. I mean, it's nothing great, this really. It's very much filler like on the album, very repetitive lyrics. I mean, it's just, I suppose it is like the Stones are sort of like paying homage like to like their like sort of like roots, and sort of like the roots like of like this sort of like bluesy sort of music like which like they were sort of like busy like updating like on like this record. But you know, it's just nothing special, so we'll give it a 6 out of 10 unfortunately.
I can see that you're 15 years old.
And the next one up is called Stray Cat Blues, which is another song which isn't one of my favourites like on the record. It's a slightly more sort of dark and more sort of like menacing piece. Like however, like it's really sort of like by like today's standards a very sort of like politically like incorrect like song this year. Like it's basically about like having sex like with a sort of like, I think it actually references like a 15-year-old like sort of like groupie. Like so definitely like they'll never get away with like singing this song like today. Like I mean like Jagger really belts out like the song. I mean it's got a quite sort of menacing like piano hook, like quite memorable. Apart from that, there's not much else going on like with the song. It just kind of like passes me by really without making much like of a impression. And the next number up is Factory Girl, which is a penultimate song on the album, and I actually do rather like this one. Like it's a very sort of stripped back like folky track, like again like with some sort of like slightly odd like arrangement choices. Like you've got a tabla like being played, like which is like an Indian like instrument. Like I believe like that might have been like carried over like from like their psychedelic era. Like as well as like a sort of like Irish fiddle like in it like as well. Like I mean, it's quite a nice sweet song, basically like about like a guy like waiting for like his girlfriend like to finish work. So yeah, like not a bad song. Again, not brilliant really. Like it's not sort of like top draw material, but it is a good sort of like I would say like innocent song like for like this album, like which fits in quite well. So we give it a 7 out of 10. But then thankfully we close with one of the best ones like on the album. It's a song called The Salt of the Earth, which I absolutely love this song like as like an album close. I think it's really like underrated actually. Interestingly, the first verse of this like at least like is sung by Keith Richards. Like I believe like this would have been his, well certainly like one of like his first I saw like vocal contributions, like lead vocal contributions like to like a Stones album. And I must say it does sound slightly rough like whether like however Jagger like sort of takes over like the song like midway through. And I think it's brilliant. It's lyrically about sort of like saluting like the working classes. Like it's a lot more like sort of like I said like melodic than like most like off like the album. Like sort of like you can tell that like they sort of like wrote this song, like they sort of like thought out like the lyrics like to how like this song like would go like before, and it actually reminds me quite a lot like of like Ray Davies like sort of like style songwriting, sort of like social like observations like sort of songwriting style, like which the Stones like didn't really like explore like a lot, but this is certainly like one exception. It's just a really sort of like rousing closer like to like the album, like especially like with like the sort of like the choir, like they've got a whole sort of chant of people like singing like, so I think it's like let's salute like the hardworking people like or something like that. So yeah, a great way to finish the album. Salt of the Earth would get a 10 out of 10. So overall, this record would score 79%. So for a lot of people, this was the sort of classic Rolling Stones album. This was the one where they very much like found like the sound like which would go on to define like the rest of like their careers. Like they would make like after this like so like one of like the great album runs like of all time, like Let It Bleed, Sticky Fingers, and Exile on Main Street. However, this album is actually a little bit different like from those records, because it's very sort of like acoustically focused, like apart like from like sort of like the songs which like everyone like knows, like Sympathy for the Devil and Street Fighter Man. Everything else is kind of like sort of like quite mellow and like quite like acoustically focused. Like I mean, it maybe loses like a bit of steam like sort of like midway through like the album. Like however, like there are like some like moments like of brilliance, like especially like sort of like the side openers like and closers like of each side. I think like those songs like are really like well worth it. So yeah, a pretty good album here, like I would say. For me personally, I wouldn't like sort of like rank it like among like the greats like of like the 60s, like, but like I know like for like a fact that like a lot of people like really like disagree there, like think that this is like the Stones like sort of like classic album. For me though, I think like Let It Bleed like overall like is like quite a bit stronger actually. So yeah, that's been my review of Beggars Banquet. So yes, I hope you have enjoyed. I would like to know what you think of this album in the comments below, and I will see you all next time for the next video. Goodbye.